Hello, my beautiful Aries souls, my cosmic warriors, my divine trailblazers, and my sacred pioneers of the spirit. Welcome back to Astrology Unlocked, the sacred space where we journey together into the very heart of the cosmos to unlock the brilliant, fiery truths that are your divine birthright. Before we even take our first courageous step into today's profound message, I want you to simply be here. Feel the energy of this moment, this sanctuary we have created together. If you feel a stirring in your soul, a spark of recognition in your heart as you listen to these words, then do me a beautiful favor right now. Join our tribe of cosmic warriors by gently, intentionally pressing that subscribe button. Let the universe know that you are a cherished member of this family, that you are ready to claim your power. And in the comments below, I want to create a space of incredible collective strength. I want you to share if you feel called the scariest moment you have ever faced in your life, and more importantly, how your magnificent spirit managed to rise above it. Let's hear your honest stories, your raw feelings. Let's fill this space with our collective, unbreakable Aries fire. Now gather close, my friends, because the truth I am here to share with you today is one of monumental importance. It is a truth your soul has been screaming at you in flashes of intuition, a feeling you may have dismissed as a fleeting shadow or a moment of your own impatience. I need you to listen with your whole heart, with every fiber of your being, because we are about to pull back a veil on something that will change how you see your journey. There has been a deliberate, calculated, and insidious effort to see your magnificent, trailblazing spirit caged. Let that sink into the very core of your being for a moment. This is not a metaphor for a bad month, my friends. This is not a rumor floating on the cosmic winds. This is a cold, hard, energetic truth that has been operating behind the smiles and hollow words of those you may have once called your own. You may have felt like you narrowly dodged a bullet recently, that you escaped a disastrous situation through sheer force of will or a sudden change of plans. But oh my dear Aries, it was not just your quick thinking. It was divine intervention. You are being fiercely, powerfully protected. And now, this very moment is the time to face the truth that your fiery intuition, that gut feeling that is your most powerful and unerring compass, has been screaming at you for so long. And it all begins with a face you know, a person to whom you once handed the sacred map of your heart, the blueprint of your most audacious world-changing dreams. And they took that map not to find their way to your side, but to meticulously, cruelly build a cage around the very essence of your soul. I am not here today to teach you something you do not already know. No, I am here to be a mirror, to whisper back the profound, unshakable truths you have always carried within the very core of your warrior spirit. You have felt it, haven't you? That invisible resistance, like a warrior trying to charge forward, only to find the ground has turned to quicksand, a feeling of your unstoppable momentum hitting a wall that you cannot see. A subtle, chilling, energetic drain in a room where someone you once poured your boundless fire into now stands. You've likely felt this undeniable sense that something or someone is actively blocking your path, sabotaging your forward motion, even though you cannot pinpoint the source. And in those moments of confusion, dear Aries, your beautiful, action-oriented mind might have turned on itself. You might have asked, am I just being paranoid? Am I imagining things? Am I the one creating these obstacles? You, who are the beacon of courage and the spark of creation, may have tried to rationalize the inexplicable feeling of being contained, of your fire being dampened. Let my voice be the one that affirms your soul's deepest knowing. You are not imagining it. You were not being too much or too sensitive. Your intuition was not wrong. It was detecting a poison that was being administered with a smile and a pat on the back. You may have told yourself, "I'm just in a creative slump," or "My momentum has just stalled for a bit." You used your naturally hopeful and resilient spirit to soothe the nameless aching constriction around your heart. But today, right here and right now, I want you to honor this sacred message from the cosmos. Take a deep, cleansing breath with me in and out, and truly listen to what your soul has been trying to tell you for months, perhaps even for years. There was someone not by accident, not in a fleeting moment of anger, but with cold, calculated, and deliberate intent, who paid an energetic price to see your magnificent fire contained. When I say they paid a price, I am not speaking in poetic terms. I am speaking of a literal, tangible exchange, an exchange of money, of favors, or the dark, focused energy of a curse, a binding spell, all with a single, chilling objective: to place formidable obstacles in your path, to see your pioneering efforts fail, to see you, the wild, untamable spirit of the zodiac, the one who is born to lead, finally break. And why would anyone do this to a soul as pure and direct as yours? The reason is as tragic as it is simple. They could not bear the brilliant, untamed light of your spirit. Not because you ever did anything to harm them, my dear Aries. Oh no, it is because your very existence, your courage, your boundless passion, and your unwavering ability to simply begin, force them to see the bars of their own self-made cages of fear and inaction. Your light became a mirror so honest, so pure, that it reflected back all the shadows, all the cowardice they refused to face within themselves. And instead of choosing to heal their own darkness, they chose the path of the craven. They chose to try and shatter the mirror. What makes this wound so incredibly deep, what makes it ache in the quiet moments before dawn, is that this person is not a stranger. This is not some distant enemy on a battlefield. This is someone you once welcomed into the sacred war tent of your heart, someone with whom you shared your grandest strategies and your most vulnerable weaknesses, someone you likely defended, protected, and showered with your fierce loyalty. Even when your own spirit was weary from your own battles, you gave them your strength. They didn't threaten you with a sword you could see. An Aries knows how to handle a direct fight. They were far more insidious than that. They used the very trust you gave them as their weapon. They knew the dreams that fueled your fire, the fears that could momentarily quench it, the people you loved with a warrior's intensity, and the freedom you held most sacred. And they targeted those very things, weaving a net of subtle, energetic sabotage. They didn't raise their voice at you. They smiled warmly, they cheered you onto your face, and then they went and found someone else, an energetic hitman, if you will, who could do the heavy lifting of their dark, cowardly intentions. I know your mind is racing, trying to comprehend this. Why would they do that, you ask? Because, my beautiful Aries, your soul operates on a frequency of courage, action, and raw authenticity. You cannot fathom how someone could take the warmth of the loyalty you offered and forge it into a cold, sharp weapon to be used against you. You do not understand the chilling, corrosive nature of envy that masquerades as admiration. You only know how to lead the charge, how to trust your comrades, and how to get back up after you fall. And it is precisely because of that beautiful, trusting nature that this betrayal felt like such a devastating, disorienting blow. The deepest pain, my friend, has never been the act of betrayal itself. The deepest pain is the chilling realization that you once championed this person. You may have pulled them from the wreckage of their own life, from their own despair, in days when no one else would even look their way. You, the rescuer, the protector, shared your fire to keep them warm, only to have them use that warmth to plot against you in the shadows. Your soul carries this knowledge. You don't need external proof because you've seen the truth in flashes of intuition, in dreams that felt too real, in a sudden wave of primal anger or unease that washed over you for no apparent reason. If you are hearing these words today, it is because the universe is saying it is time. It is time to name it. Not to cultivate hatred, your spirit is too vast for that, but to finally release it. You have nothing to prove to anyone. You only need to place a hand over your magnificent, courageous heart and declare to yourself with the conviction of 1,000 warriors, I have seen, I know the truth, and I will not be caged. You may never get the apology you so deeply deserve. They may never confess their despicable actions. They may never come to repay the energetic and karmic debt they owe. But the beautiful truth is you no longer need them to. Because the one thing you needed most, the validation of your own inner knowing, the truth you now hold firmly in your hands, has been given to you. And the truth for an Aries is always enough to ignite a brand new, unstoppable charge into the future. As a small ritual of release, I want you to do something for me. Find a quiet moment after this. Take a piece of paper and write down the first name or initial that rises in your mind when I speak of this silent, cowardly betrayal. Write it not to hold on to the anger, but to give your soul a sacred space to finally lay down the heavy, invisible armor it has carried for so long. Write it as a powerful ritual of severance. Write it as a final farewell to the version of you who once dimmed your own fire to make others feel comfortable, who gave your loyalty too freely, who kept leading a charge for someone who was secretly hoping you would fall. From this moment forward, you are no longer that person. You are a soul on fire with awakening, and a fire as bright as yours no longer fears any shadow. And now you might be wondering, if someone truly went to such lengths, if they sought out an energetic assassin to ground your spirit, then why are you still here? Why are you still standing, still fighting, still dreaming? Why didn't their pathetic plan succeed? The answer, my dear friend, will arrive in your heart like a brilliant, unwavering beam of golden light. It is a presence that has been quiet, yet ever present. You may not see it with your physical eyes, but you are perpetually, powerfully shielded. Because every single time you have narrowly avoided a disastrous situation, every time you've suddenly changed course for a reason you couldn't explain, every time a lucky break saved you at the last possible second, it was never a coincidence. And I will tell you now about the magnificent being who has stood as a divine guardian between you and those invisible arrows of malice. A being without physical form, yet one who always knows when a pure, courageous soul needs a champion. The one who carries the sword of divine truth and never ever allows a child of the light to fall to the treachery of darkness. That one, my dear friend, is the glorious Archangel Michael. And as you hear his name, as it resonates within your warrior's heart, I want you to realize with every fiber of your being, you have never ever been alone in this battle. My dearest Aries, I want you to travel back in your mind for a moment. Can you recall a time when you were about to charge full steam ahead? You were ready to launch a new project, sign a contract, enter a partnership, or make a bold move. But in that final moment, right at the precipice of action, something inside you slammed on the brakes. There was no logical reason, just a powerful, undeniable gut feeling, a cosmic command that said, "No, not this way. Halt." And because you are learning to honor your inner commander, you listened. That day may have passed without any drama. You may never know what chaos, what betrayal, what energetic trap you truly avoided by making that choice. No alarms sounded. No one called to thank you for sidestepping a catastrophe. But perhaps that was the very moment your divine guardian intervened. Perhaps that was the moment you were saved from a battle that was not yours to fight. You may have called it your intuition, your instinct, and you would be right. But what if it wasn't just you? What if it was a celestial warrior whispering no, shouting through your intuition? Someone protecting you from the energetic realms that our human eyes simply cannot perceive. In many spiritual traditions, they are known as Dharma protectors, powerful awakened energies whose sole purpose is to guard those whose souls walk a path of truth and integrity. In angelology, it is the magnificent Archangel Michael, the commander of the celestial armies, the one who wields the sword of cobalt blue light, forever standing as a shield between the shadows and those who live by the fire of their hearts. I believe with all my soul that you have met Michael many times, not with your eyes, but through that inexplicable sense of being guided, of being safe when you should have been in peril. Perhaps you once stood before a door, ready to kick it down, but an invisible hand held you back, and had you entered, you would have walked into a labyrinth of deceit. Perhaps you were about to send a fiery text or an impassioned email, pouring your heart out to someone. But a sudden ache in your gut made you pause, delete the words, and in doing so, you unknowingly prevented a chain of painful consequences from ever being set in motion. Aries, you have been divinely intervened for not once, but countless times. The protection wasn't always in the form of grand cinematic miracles. More often, it was a silent, swift course correction, as immediate as a spark, yet as powerful as the cosmos itself. I remember a client of mine, a brilliant Aries woman, an entrepreneur with a vision that could change the world. She told me that every time she was scheduled to have a final partnership meeting with a man she once trusted, implicitly something would go wrong. A flight would be inexplicably cancelled, her car would suddenly get a flat tire, or she would wake up with a sudden, short-lived fever that vanished by evening. At first, she cursed her bad luck, her Aries frustration boiling over, but after the third time, she finally stood still and understood. She was being held back. She was being protected. She later discovered that this partner had been preparing legal documents to steal her intellectual property, and those unlucky events had saved her from total financial and creative ruin. From that day on, she learned to listen not just with her ears, but with her entire being, to honor every tensing of her muscles, every sudden drop in her energy, every time her body screamed, "No," even when her logical mind was shouting, "Go." Dear Aries, you have a direct, unbreakable line to the unseen realms. It is a golden cord of truth that never snaps, never tangles, and never leads you astray. But because your nature is to sometimes doubt your inner world in favor of the external battle, you can overlook these divine signals. Remember this: every time you meet someone and your energy instantly drains, that is your soul's defense system speaking. Every time you are about to take a step forward on a path, but you suddenly feel hollow and uninspired, that is Archangel Michael saying, "This is not your highest battlefield." The rejections you once lamented, the opportunities that slipped through your fingers, the times you felt isolated or alone. None of these were punishments. They were the most sacred, loving forms of protection. Have you ever stopped to consider that what has kept you whole, what has preserved your brilliant fire until this very day, was not only your own incredible strength, but a celestial warrior who has been deflecting the arrows you could not even see, if that is true? And I know in my soul that it is, then you are no longer a lone warrior on the battlefield. You no longer have to fight your battles in the dark by yourself. You have been, you are, and you will always be protected as long as you keep the flame of truth burning brightly in your heart. I don't need you to believe this with your mind right away. I only ask you to grow still, to remember the times you escaped a bad feeling, the times you changed your plans at the last minute, and later felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude that you had. The times your intuition was so startlingly accurate that it sent a shiver of awe down your spine. Write those moments down. Keep a journal of these divine interventions. It is a way to remind yourself that you don't need to see with your eyes, to trust that the light walks with you. You don't need to pray in a specific way. You don't even need to speak the right name. As long as you live in alignment with your truth, as long as you act with courage, as long as you seek to create and not to limit, Archangel Michael will be there. You will feel him in a sudden flash of insight, in a surge of energy that helps you push through, in a gut feeling so precise it shakes you to your very core. So please, my dear friend, never again dismiss the strange, powerful sensations within you. Your soul is an ancient cosmic radio one that can only be tuned through the quiet moments of listening. And sometimes the one who protects you does not come to speak, but to hold your hand back at the exact moment you need it most. And that, my beautiful Aries, is why no matter how many times they tried to build a cage to see you fall, you still rose again and again. Not because you knew how to fight them back, but because someone else, your divine champion, had already taken the arrows for you. And yet not every arrow comes directly from the enemy. Some are passed through an intermediary, a person who is neither for you nor against you, a person who smiles at both sides of the battlefield. And it is their neutrality, their refusal to choose a side, that may have wounded you in the most confusing and painful way. Because in this journey of uncovering the truth, there is another face you must now look at. Not the mastermind who paid for your downfall, not the celestial savior who protected you, but the one who carelessly, or perhaps unknowingly, opened the gate and allowed the darkness to slip in. And they may not even realize they were holding the key. You know, in the great epics of our lives, the stories of our most profound wounds, the one who hurts us is not always the one who declares themselves our enemy. Sometimes the deepest cut comes from the one in the middle, the ambiguous one, the lukewarm one. The one you once believed was a safe harbor, only to discover they were the very port through which the pirate ships sailed. Aries, this is perhaps the most difficult part of the truth to accept, not because it is terrifying, but because it is so disappointingly close to home. Close enough that you've told yourself, no, it couldn't be them. Close enough that you felt a pang of guilt for even daring to suspect them. This person could be a mutual friend, an ex-lover, a colleague, even a family member. It is someone who once held your hand while you were navigating the wreckage of your own shattered dreams. Someone who listened as you spoke of battle plans you had never uttered to another living soul. Someone who made you believe, no matter what happens, they will always have my back. And yet that very person became the bridge, the conduit between the sacred secrets of your war room and the very people who should never have known them. They didn't have to slander you. They didn't have to lie. They only had to talk, to share a harmless story, to reveal an insignificant detail about your life, to mention a vulnerability you once entrusted to them in a moment of weakness. And the darkness, like a cold draft seeping through a crack under the door, slipped quietly and devastatingly inside. Now, not all of these people are malicious. Some are simply weak. They are cowards. They may have never intended to cause you harm, but they were not strong enough, not honorable enough to hold the sacred trust you placed in their hands. And in the moments when you needed an ally the most, they chose silence. Silence when others spoke of you with negativity. Silence when they knew a lie was being spread. Silence when their one voice of truth could have stopped the momentum of the darkness. Silence when they should have stood up and said, "Stop, that's not right, that's not who they are." Aries, this betrayal did not come with a visible weapon. It came with the deafening sound of deliberate, cowardly silence. And you, my dear beautiful soul, who always tries to see the good, who always makes excuses for those you care about, who always finds a reason to forgive you, have probably told yourself over and over they didn't mean any harm, or maybe they were scared, or perhaps I'm just expecting too much loyalty. But there are actions that require no further explanation. And there are souls who, even without the direct intent to harm, must still bear the karmic weight of their irresponsibility when they pass your sacred energy into the wrong hands. I received an email once from an Aries man living in America. He wrote, "I told a dear old friend about a huge, audacious dream. I had a fear that was tied to it, things I had never spoken aloud to anyone. I believed he was the one person who truly got my warrior spirit. But a few weeks later, my dream and my fears became the subject of ridicule in our social circle. Not overtly, but in condescending whispers, in pitying glances. He never confronted me about it. He simply faded away. My heart didn't just break because I lost a friend. It shattered because I lost a place I believed I could trust with my unbridled dreams. Aries, have you ever had such a place? A person you thought you could lean on, only to find they were the first to step away when the ground beneath you started to shake? I know you don't want to call it a betrayal. Your expansive heart always tries to maintain a gentle image of those who once mattered. But true forgiveness does not mean blurring the lines of truth. Sometimes the most powerful form of forgiveness is daring to look directly at what happened, to call it what it is, cowardice, betrayal, so that you can finally turn and walk away from it free and clear. You do not need to have a confrontation. You do not need to expose anyone. All you need is a new boundary, a boundary built not from the wound of the past, but from the wisdom of your awakening. Starting today, let your heart choose again. Not everyone who was on your path in the beginning deserves a seat at the victor's table. Not everyone who knows your old wounds has earned the right to touch the brilliant light of your healing. Setting a boundary is not an act of coldness. For you, Aries, it is an act of profound self-love. It is honoring the wild, sacred temple of your own spirit. Write down their name if it helps, or simply write down the feeling of ambiguity and disappointment you carried when you stood before them. Write not to condemn, but to finally and firmly close the gate they left open for far too long. And then gently, but with absolute resolve, take your key back from their hands. Because your light, your grand adventure, does not need any more half-hearted fellow travelers. It does not need more of those who claim to be blameless, yet always seem to be standing on the wrong side of the truth. Your soul has found its own voice again, louder and clearer than ever before, and it is time for that voice to decide who is truly worthy to stay. I know this is not easy, but you are already doing it. Each time you step away from a vague, uncertain, or draining connection, you are protecting yourself from a future wound. And as you begin to choose your tribe again, this time from a place of clear-eyed awakening, a quiet and beautiful miracle begins to unfold. You don't have to force it. You don't have to go searching for it. New light will find you. New people will arrive. Not people who want to control you or manipulate you or live vicariously through your adventures, but people who want to walk beside you, honestly, authentically, joyfully. Fellow warriors who celebrate when your arrows hit the mark. Because even if you've been pushed out of old, restrictive circles, a vast new horizon is opening up before you. A place where you no longer have to strain to prove your worth. A place that no longer demands your silence as the price of admission. And it is from this new, elevated vantage point that you will be able to see with perfect clarity what the ones who hurt you are now quietly beginning to face. There are some things, my dear friend, that you do not have to do anything about. There is no need to retaliate, no need to speak out against them, no need to prove how deeply you were once wounded. The universe, with its perfect and immutable laws, always remembers. The soul always keeps score. And the law of karmic balance, the great cosmic boomerang, never ever forgets the way home. Perhaps you have looked at them from a distance and thought, they're fine. They're still living their life, still laughing, still surrounded by people. But the truth is, the cages they build for others eventually become their own prisons. What they hide is not for the world to see, but they live with it every single day. The one who betrayed you, the one who turned away, the one who used your trust to open the door for darkness is now beginning to face the consequences. Not from you, but from the very energy they have sown into the fabric of the cosmos. No one needs to punish them. The silence of the light you have withdrawn is enough to make their own darkness feel unbearable. Aries, do you remember the sleepless nights you had, wrestling with a wound no one else could see? They are beginning to have nights just like that. Do you remember the feeling of being misunderstood, manipulated, and isolated? They are now beginning to touch layers of a profound loneliness they cannot name or escape. This is not because you wished it upon them. Your heart is too grand for that. It is simply the universe, in its infinite wisdom, gently but precisely rebalancing the scales. And here is the true miracle in all of this. You don't need to look back. You don't need to ask, do they feel regret? You no longer need to wait for an apology that may never come. Because what matters now has nothing to do with them. It is about you. It is about the fact that you are still here, more whole, more vibrant, and more magnificent than ever before. That the brilliant, fiery light within you in the end could never be extinguished. That you chose not to let their darkness and their limitations define the person you would become. Aries, your soul, did not come to this earth to engage in petty battles or to seek revenge. You came here to be reborn from the ashes of what once seemed impossible to heal. You came here to prove that a heart that has been betrayed can still trust in the grand adventure of love. That a soul that has been deceived can still believe in the ultimate triumph of truth. That a light that was once envied and targeted can still shine brilliantly and without asking for anyone's permission. They once tried to silence your truth. They tried to make you lose faith in your own inner compass, but now that very faith has become your salvation. The boundless courage they mistook for recklessness has become your unbreakable shield. The silence you once had to endure has become the fertile ground for the greatest spiritual awakening of your life. Take a deep breath with me now, my beautiful friend. Feel that. Does your chest feel more expansive? Does your spirit feel lighter? Does your heart no longer feel the need to brace itself for an unseen attack? If the answer is yes, then you are standing exactly where you are meant to be. You are no longer who you were a year ago, a month ago, even a day ago. You no longer need the validation of circles that once excluded you. You no longer have to wait for someone else to understand your journey before you feel accepted. You have finally fully and magnificently accepted yourself. They are facing their limitations. But you, my dear Aries, are rising. Not to be higher than them, but to be higher than the version of yourself who once bowed your head, afraid of making others uncomfortable with your brilliance. I know you are still tender in places, and that is not a weakness. That tenderness is where the light flows into you. It is proof that you can still feel, still trust, still love, and still dream. Aries, thank you. Thank you for staying with me, with yourself through this entire powerful message. Thank you for not allowing pain to make you bitter. Thank you for choosing the light, even when everything around you felt like shadow. I wish for your coming days to be as expansive as the open sky, as rooted in truth as the oldest mountains, and as full of joy as a heart that has finally laid down a burden it was never, ever meant to carry. May it be that the ones who come to you now will never ask you to sacrifice your freedom to be loved, but will love you all the more for the magnificent, untamed spirit that you are.